Hi Vibhuti, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great as well. So maybe we can start with a little bit introduction about yourself, about your academic or professional background.
Okay, so my full name is Vibhuti Sharma. I am originally from a small town in Haryana. I work in Gurgaon. I used to work in Gurgaon, and my undergrad I did from Delhi University. I went to Ramjas to pursue statistics. This was back in 2019. After graduation, I started working at Boston Consulting Group, and I completed about 7 years there before now I moved to my MBA in the United States. This is more about me on the professional side. Apart from this, I love to travel and I do fair bit of solo traveling. That's majorly it. I don't know what else. I am a great organizer. I like organizing all of my thoughts, all of my to-do lists in big Excel spreadsheets because that also ties down to my work experience. So yeah, that's about me.
Okay, that's a great profile. So like which schools did you receive offers from?
Okay. So I have an offer from Cornell Johnson. And for context, I only applied to MBA programs. I have an offer from Cornell Johnson, Duke Fuqua, uh, Georgetown, Emory, and Kelley.
Okay, that's great. Congratulations for that. So like was
Thank
any
you.
of these your dream school?
Johnson and Fuqua were both of my dream schools, and I was very fortunate to get admitted to both of them with good scholarships. This was, I think, I start when I started applying last year. I had an Excel where I would tag each of my schools as whether it was a dream school, whether it was a safety school, and looking back, I know that both of these were tagged as my stretch schools. So yeah, I think good success rate we've had.
That's great. So like how did you feel when you opened the offer letter?
So I've had different experiences with each of the offer letters. So my first offer came for Kelley, and that was it was an email. So it was in the night, and I woke up in the morning, and I was honestly the real reaction was that I was kind of relieved because I had gone through a very exhausting application cycle, and I was just waiting to see some results. So that was for Kelley, and it was with scholarship, so I was quite happy about that. I didn't know that that was just the beginning. Then I took a trip, and during the trip, I remember when I opened my Johnson email, even before opening the email, I knew this is it. And this was a very funny story because with Johnson, right when I started applying, I started speaking to people. I was speaking to Sahil about it. And there was a very good feeling about Johnson. The way that all of our essays had turned out. I remember Sahil telling me, you will get in. But at a certain point, I was kind of losing hope because there is this time frame where you get the interview invites. Anyway, that said, it was just knowing that, yeah, I know what the decision is going to be. And then I cried happy tears, which was a very big surprise for me. That was about Johnson. Emory and Georgetown were, for Georgetown, I got a call, and I think receiving a call is extremely special. For Georgetown, for Fuqua, also, I got a call. And for Emory, first I got the offer, and then I got a call the next day. So this was what all of this was like. Every time, I would say, every time I was very happy, regardless of what I whether it was a dream school, whether it was a safety school. None of these were safety schools for me. So I think it was, I don't know, I can't explain it, but it was a great experience.
That's great. So like why did you choose this school or program over others?
I never really had any other program in my mind. So I have a statistics background. For a while, I thought I might pursue masters in statistics, but I was never very great with academics when it came to theory. So I don't have the best GPA, but whenever it would come to doing a little bit of practical, my whole work experience was related to that, and I would say I did fairly well. So I knew that this particular field is not for me. At the same time, I entered consulting, and my role was data centric, but I also knew that there is more to working on projects. And that's what I wanted to do. It was more on the problem solving side, more taking more ownership, I would say. of different modules, and that's what felt attractive to me. So I knew I wanted to do something in management. To identify what kind of program I needed to do, it took some time. I spoke to few people. I spoke to people who had done specialized master's programs. Then I also spoke to people who had gone through their MBA journey in India, outside of India. So it was a lot of research on my own. And that is when I narrowed down, okay, these are my factors that I want to consider, and this is why I want to apply for an MBA program. When I thought about applying for an MBA program, again, India versus outside of India was a factor, US versus Europe was a factor, where I wanted to apply. And that kind of was solved by when I started looking at schools. When I started speaking to people at different schools, it was not until that point that I had finalized that I want to do an MBA. To answer your question, it was a gradual process. It wasn't that one day I decided. I was keeping an open mind, and this just felt right after all my conversation. It just felt like something I want to do and where I'll have a great experience. That is very important to me. Outcomes and all, everything is great. It's 2 years of your life. I really want to have a great experience. So that was a major factor in decision making for me.
Okay, that's great. So, like, what challenges did you face during the whole application process?
During the process, I would say, I think even before the process started, I'll share a little bit more about my profile. On paper, a lot of it looks good. I had decent academics in my school. Then I went to undergrad at Delhi University. I was at North Campus. That's also good. I had a lot of extracurricular experience, and it was volunteering, it was working globally, it was attending conferences, organizing conferences, all of that was included. I was also a part of this entrepreneurship cell that was just launched. So, a lot of things that I did here and there. I did not have the best GPA. So, that was one thing that I knew could create a roadblock. So to offset that, I started working on my GMAT, and I had a very difficult journey with GMAT. I came to the realization that I'm not a great test taker. If I know that this is, and GMAT is as an exam, it's not really an exam of aptitude, I would say. And that this is my personal take. I would say it's about how you are able to manage that stress, manage that anxiety while knowing it's an adaptive exam, while knowing, okay, this is a major component of your application cycle. I wasn't the best at that. So even before I started applying, I knew that these were my academics were a little something that I needed to explain. And I knew that college was, I think that was clear to me that I was involved in a lot of other things, which is why my academic focus took kind of a backseat. But with my GMAT, I just knew that I needed to do a lot of things that to not have it become a problem. I did some additional courses. I did MBA readiness courses, which go on to demonstrate that, hey, this person knows what is coming for them, and they're ready to take it. So there's that. When I started with the process, I think my first major roadblock was finding someone who knew the nuances of my profile and who knew the target schools that I had. They were within my reach, or let's say I had a shot at those, because I had spoken to a lot of admissions consultants, and few very popular ones, few very expensive ones. I would say 8 to 10 of them. Anyone you name, I had spoken to them. I was ready to shell out the money for the bit of guidance, because I knew a lot of research I'll do on my own. But major roadblock was that I thought everyone was looking for a traditional profile. Hey, you have great marks. And when you talk about your application, a lot of it is competition within the Indians themselves, because we are an overrepresented community. So as an Indian applicant, you have to have great scores, because all the other Indian applicants have great scores. So that was one more thing, that I was competing within the Indians for a global program. And it was very highly stressful for me. So I thought I'll just speak to someone, I'll speak to a couple of people, I'll explain my profile to them, I'll explain where I am. Let's see what their opinion is. Everyone told me to retake the GMAT, but I knew I'd been at it for a very long time. I did not want to go through the whole process again. So I just thought that this is where I am. These are my credentials. It's a take it or leave it scenario. So I'll speak to someone. I spent a lot of time. So to my surprise, I feel, like I said, everyone wanted a traditional profile. And my take was that if I had that profile, if I knew that these are the parameters that I stand upon, I don't think I would be in a lot of self-doubt. But again, during the process, then I connected with, it was a long trail actually. So I connected with a friend who referred me to someone, and then they referred me to Sahil. When I spoke to Sahil, I feel he was highly optimistic, which I liked, which was I was also scared of. Um, so we had that conversation. I felt pretty good about it. And if I remember, I think within the next day, or I would say maximum 2 days, I was like, yeah, let's lock it down. Let's go ahead. You see what I want to do, and you are telling me that we'll do it. That's what I want. This was my challenge before. During the whole process, I feel I was very overwhelmed. There's a lot of information. You apply to different schools, you and as structured as I tried to be, there was a lot of information just getting mixed up in my head because I had back-to-back interviews. I know today I have an interview for this school, tomorrow I have an interview for that school. I can't just go upon my availability, so I'll have to also look at my interviewer's availability. So I had to be very careful as to not mix up the information. If I'm talking about, let's say, the consulting clubs have a little difference in the names that they follow. I had to be careful that I would not change that. I had to maintain a log of people I'd spoken to, what clicked in each school, so things like that. Overall, I would say honestly, nothing major was posed as a challenge. But it was more about how you manage the whole cycle. I was also working full time. So, with your full time work, you have to manage this, and you have ups and downs in your daily work. So, that was majorly it. I remember wanting to take a break, but I never realized that this break that I was planning, it might get pushed towards the very end because something or the other kept happening. You think that the application is done, you get a decision, but it just doesn't end. Yeah, that's where I am. I know I've like explained a lot to your question, but I don't know if that helps answer your question directly.
Actually, these are the very big issues. And like adding to this only, and like I would just ask that how did Admit Scholar help you overcome these challenges?
Like I said, so I think what I was looking for was someone to give personalized attention. And I know I'd been through different websites, spoken to different founders, and they mentioned that they gave personalized attention. But my idea of personalized attention was that one person is the only person that I want to be in touch with. Because I don't want to be handed over to 3 to 4 people to review, and then they change, they change the narrative, they go on to give me different advice without understanding the kind of message that I'm going to convey. So with Sahil, this is the expectation that I'd set initially, that I want to work with the person, just one person who is going to know my profile in and out, who can walk me through the thought process and who can understand my ideas of what I want to communicate. Because if he hands me over to someone else, it'll be a taxing process for me to keep doing that. And even before that, before signing up with them, I wanted to speak to that person. So Sahil said that, okay, I am the person you're going to be working with. So if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything, you can discuss with me, which felt very comfortable when we connected, when we I told him about the schools that I wanted to target. He also gave me certain suggestions that these are good for your profile, basis your post MBA goals. I think you should look at these schools. I went ahead, did some research and all of that. He was also nice enough to put me in touch with certain people. So my schools were mostly US based schools. And he was able to put me in touch with 1 or 2 people who were here and there who had had the experience at certain schools. So I think this was the first part, that none of this needed to be, logistical, that hey, I needed their help with XYZ. I just needed to believe in my head that the person that I'm going to work with is has my best interest in their mind. They know what I'm targeting and they're not trying to pull me down. They're not trying to be like, hey, be realistic. And in my head, it was all realistic because now we have results and I know it worked. But there was that. And I remember when on the first call, I told Sahil that I spoke to this big consultant and they told me Cornell should not be on your list because you do not have the profile for it. And I was very heartbroken because I genuinely liked it as a school. So I told him, and then we applied for Cornell. And I remember when we had written the essay, we had the final draft of the essays. I sent my final draft to Sahil for review. And he just read it. He said, you are definitely going to get a call. This is that great. And of course, I didn't believe him. I was like, yeah, this is great. Let's see. But that happened. And one more thing that I would say they helped me immensely with was structuring my stories. A lot of times when I was interviewing and I had to get my story straight for the interviews, I would forget. And I would do a mock with Sahil, and then he would ask me a question and I would blank out in the question, and he would tell me later on, why didn't you mention that story? And I would be like, oh yes, you're right. I don't know. I don't remember my own stories, but he would remember. I swear, Harshita, it happened so many times. And
Yeah.
Sahil would be like, I remember all your stories now. You just tell me the question and then I can tell you. Because again, like I said, I was so overwhelmed. I had so much information on my plate that I would tend to forget my basic stories. It was just a simple reminder that there's somebody who knows it, who knows that this is the kind of impact that you have created. So this is where you can showcase that impact. That helped a lot. I think the mocks were great to the extent that now when I have these conversations, whenever I go for coffee chats, it came very naturally to me. So I would say I became a better speaker and I don't know. I think what else?
Okay, that's great.
Majorly, I think, yeah.
That's great to hear. So, like, how would you describe your experience working with Sahil sir, our founder?
It had its ups and downs, I would say. But that was also great because I never wanted to work with someone who would just say yes to everything
Yeah.
that I'd say, thinking, okay, this is her application, this is what she wants to do. I came for expert guidance, and there were times when Sahil would push back on certain opinions that I had. He would be like, okay, this is fine if you want to do, but I don't think you should do it. For example, if I would say, I want to mention this particular part of my experience. And he would say, no, I think you should mention this part of your experience. I would have a certain opinion. We would discuss through it. And sometimes I would accept it, sometimes we would not. So there were no hard feelings as such, which was great. I think I like to be a little over prepared, which is just all of that is in my head. So we did have a, sort of difference at some point, and I was so upset, and most of it was just me being a little agitated because of the interview cycle going on, and we did have a little bit of difference, and the good part about that was we were able to just talk through it, which is to me, which is kind of development for me. We were able to look at the big picture. We were just able to move past it. That goes on to show that there is mutual respect. I would suggest that this should not be seen as something which is negative in any sort. I'm specifically trying to mention it because this is going to happen. This happens to everyone. Any of my friends who were applying through the cycle, nobody had like a smooth cycle. There will always be differences, but the most important part is that you work through those differences, and a few days, a few weeks later, you just don't forget, you just don't remember those. That was that. I think working with Sahil, majorly it was very, I would say, chill in the sense that I never felt there is a formality of any sort. I could think out loud with him. I would say, this is what I'm thinking. You tell me what your thoughts are. There were times he would just say no, and then I'd be upset, and then I'd ask him, and then he would explain the whole idea behind it. But again, he was not afraid of speaking his mind, so there was no need to please me because I'm a client of sorts, which is good, which is what should be the case. I think he had a good precision when it came to understanding what the school is trying to ask. If we have to talk about your strengths, your weaknesses. I have my strengths and weaknesses. He made me fill an Excel sheet with all my thoughts. So it was mostly self-reflection. And then we sat down. I explained the stories to him. He had a lot of questions asking, probing. Okay, what was the result of it? So he helped me think through the whole process because some of these things that I did were 5 years back. And for me to walk through the journey, talking to someone and talking about the impact, that also kind of reminded me, oh, this was what we did. Because now I seem to have forgotten about it. So that was helpful. And eventually, I would say I was happy with all of my essays. I was happy with all of the things that I had written, that we had spent a lot of time deliberating upon. I was confident in all of my interviews. which was at a certain point, it was just like, okay, there is this interview. I just need to revise my notes because I'm ready for everything. I was happy with how we would, just do certain revisions. So we had a structure set that there were certain colors that I would use for my draft. Then he would talk through the comments. There were certain colors that he would use, and then we had these versions. So there was a rhythm of sorts. So I didn't feel that there was a lot of effort. Like I have to keep pushing and pushing, I've heard a lot of people go through this that they get ghosted. Thankfully, I did not get ghosted.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know how that would feel because I'm sure that's very stressful. But I'm just glad I did not get to that phase. So I was able to reach him whenever I wanted to. I was also careful with the timeline. So I was never the kind of person who would be pinging him one day before the timeline. We would be done well in advance. I think he also understood she's a little crazy. So 1 week, 10 days before the application deadline, we'd be done, and it was smooth.
Okay, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So, like, were you hesitant and like, did you had a belief that you would get into these top B schools?
So I applied round one and round two both. And of course, because I was new to the cycle in round one, yes, I wasn't sure of what I was looking at, what kind of success rates there were. I was also not in touch with a lot of people who were applying alongside me. So it helps to keep looking at profiles, but I'd seen those profiles on GMAT Club. I wouldn't say that I had no belief because I was, like I said, I'm mostly practical, but I also leave a little bit of room for that hope. That's where I was. That's where I was. I would say I was 70% sure that there is potential in me getting calls from these schools, and 30% by my standard is a lot. I think there's always this bit of uncertainty. This was in round one. By round two, when I had applied, I knew that these are the schools that I'm applying to. These are where I have a shot. These are where these are going to be completely my stretch schools because I had incorrectly tagged my stretch schools in round one. So um, yeah, and actually let me rephrase that. I had not incorrectly tagged those as stretch schools. I think they were my stretch schools, and then we made it to the stretch school, so we grew more confident. So that.
That's great to hear. So, like, how was your experience with the first consultation call, like that you had with Sahil sir only?
I don't remember a lot of it. I mean, I don't remember the details of it, but what I just outlined, I'm a very transparent person, Harshita. So there is very less filtering in my thoughts, which is good and bad in some cases. So I went to the call and I told Sahil because this was through a referral, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And so I was in touch with somebody from INSEAD. He did his MBA from INSEAD. His name is Abhinav. And I had already spoken to Abhinav. I liked speaking to him, and then I trusted his judgment. And then when Abhinav referred Sahil to me, I took it as a, you know, just like an introductory call. I wasn't even sure that I wanted to start applying this cycle. So that is major. Actually, that is a big factor because I had been chasing GMAT for so long. I had been speaking to so many consultants that I just felt I might have to retake GMAT. And then by that, till I don't get a GMAT score, actually, this is what I forgot to mention. Let me mention this. Everyone told me to retake the GMAT and then come to them with the GMAT score, with a higher GMAT score. I went to Sahil and I told him this is the situation. I'm so drained and I don't know what to do. I want to start working on the applications. He said, okay, let's do it. He said, we'll start working on the applications and then you can keep preparing for GMAT on the side.
Yeah.
And then when you get a higher score in the GMAT, we can change your schools. We can change the strategy. That is not a problem. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. Okay. So this is what happened. I was happy that I'm finally moving on to the next stage, that I get to work on my applications because I'd been reading those essays for so long. I'd been attending these webinars from different schools. I was just happy. And I knew I had to retake GMAT. He put me in touch with people from Admit Scholar. So he had worked with certain students in the past who were going to great schools, and then they had also been had a successful journey with GMAT. So he put me in touch with them. That was a wonderful part of it. I think it was just me who was the problem because I was so drained. I did not want to retake the exam, but they did everything they could. They would get on calls with me. They would organize their analyze my mocks with me. I remember this was sometime around, I think May or June, 2025, I started working with Sahil. We were sorting my resume. He was giving me pointers, and around the same time, I was coordinating with his GMAT team. I was taking mocks. I was doing exercises, and I was connecting with them. And at one
Yes.
point, I was like, "It's not happening. I can't do it. I feel that I am mentally exhausted. So this is it. Let's go with this score." And he was like, okay. And I don't remember at any point him telling me, no, no, this was not the plan, or you mentioned that you will get a higher score on it. Never, which was so good. Because my whole fear was that throughout the whole research and conversations, everyone told me, no, this is not good enough. There was this person who told me, it's okay, this is your score, you have other strengths. We are going to actually focus a lot on those. And then you have reasons for your undergrad GPA, you have reasons, you have done a lot of work to make up for your academic. I don't know what the word for it is, but you don't have spikes in your academics. So I think that is where I started feeling very positive because I did not have to study anymore. I was like, I have to write. I love writing. I can write. I have to talk about my stories. Yes, let's do that. I have to do a lot of revisions to my essays. You will tell me things to do. I will do that. I think initially I was very happy. I don't have to do it. But somewhere along the way, it was at the back of my head. Okay, I will not do it for round one, but I'll do it for round two. I knew that was not happening, but it was just there in the back of my head. I told him, and then he said, okay, if you want to do it later, you can do it later. Just focus on your applications for now, focus on your interviewing for now. That also did not happen. So finally, I have a 645. I applied with a 645, which is lower than the average of most of these schools that I applied to. If this is lower than the average, then for an Indian applicant, this is way below the average. So that was where I stood. I think that was, if I had to mention what most impactful part of the journey, that would be. So in the consultation call, we just spoke about these things. We discussed everything. We were open to the idea that things might change along the way. And they did. And then we were just able to navigate according to that. So, yeah.
Okay. That's great to hear. So, like, would you recommend Admit Scholar to others? Why or why not?
I have recommended Edmund Scholar to others. I just don't have
Okay.
many friends left because I feel I've gotten too old for this.
Yeah.
But again, jokes aside, I did recommend it to few people. I definitely would for all the reasons that I mentioned. I think people have different expectations coming into the process. So if anyone has the kind of expectations that I did, then to them, yes, this is the place to be. And the good part is, I did not have a problem with spending a lot of money, but I feel Sahil saved a lot of money for me. If somebody has that as a factor, I think this is great quality that you're getting. There's personalized guidance that you're getting, but for without having to burn a big hole in your pocket, because that's not what the whole cycle should be about. I would say still 70% of the work you're going to put on your own. Somebody can give you the guidance, somebody can walk you through your thought process. They can challenge your thoughts so that you think on your own. But if you think that you're going to come and be like, okay, I am here, just do everything for me, that is never going to happen. So having those kind of expectations should be right. If that all of that is done, then yes, I do recommend it to people. Or to all of my friends who were applying, who are thinking of applying, I have recommended them that, and then it requires a lot of context. That this is what I was looking for, this is what you should focus on. If we align, then yes, you should go to these people.
That's great. So, the last question, do you have any tips or words of encouragement for future applicants?
I think research is very important. You have to do your own research. That will be in the form of like everything that I've answered. What program do you want to choose? Just don't do it because everyone is doing it. because somewhere along the way, when you start working on the thing, you stop thinking about why you're doing it. That happens a lot. It's mostly after you have reached a certain decision or a certain result, you start to think whether this was really what I wanted or not. So I would say, to avoid that kind of guilt trip, start early. Start thinking about why you want to do something. Don't start until you're very sure of it. And for me, of course, I had attended a lot of webinars. I did extensive research through all of these AI models. What helped me the most were the coffee chats. I have notebooks and notebooks filled with just reaching out to people on LinkedIn. Just reach out to someone. Let's say you want to speak to someone at Johnson. You cold message them on LinkedIn, wait for their response, set up a time with them. Everyone is mostly really happy to give you their time, talk about their experience, because everyone wants good people to come to their school. I remember when I was applying to Emory, there was this very kind person. I had a coffee chat with him, and he just mentioned that I'm going to recommend you because I want nice people to come to Emory. That was such a nice thing to say because we had just had a conversation, but everyone wants great talent to be incorporated into their alumni network. So people will give you their time, utilize that, ask the right questions, talk to them about their experience. That is where you get your information. That information you can use to narrow down on your schools, use in your applications, use in your interviews, or just stand out as an applicant. What is this school looking for? Some schools might look for a lot of entrepreneurship experience. Some schools might look for finance experience. Some schools might want you to have done a lot of volunteering work. So you need to identify these, and nobody can tell you this better than anybody who has been through the process and is sitting in a classroom of 200, at least 200 more people who have also done that. So I think it's not talked about enough. Everything else people talk about, that do this, do that. But this kind of stood out for me. I know people who have gone through the process, who have had great results without doing this, but I know what I'm getting into now. I know the programs that I want to, and the classes that I want to take. I know the immersions that are present at my school. So that helps me be prepared.
So that's a great lesson for future applicants. So thank you, Vibhuti. It was a really a nice time talking to you.